Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Antonio Celesta, the founder of the Academy of African American Fathers Association, sometimes called the Academy of Black Fathers. Today, I'm here to talk about um, um, our philosophy in our program. On my first video, I gave an introduction on about the program and who we were and what we do. Specifically, in this particular segment, I'm going to talk more about how we accomplish some of the things that we do and some of the lesson plans and why we feel we picked those particular lesson plans to change the mindset of black men in our program. I first want to let you know that we have our new website that's up. We also have an Instagram, we have a Facebook page, and we also have a Twitter page. So if you see our name on there is the Academies of Black Fathers, um, follow us. That way you can keep track of some of the things that we're doing and some of the changes that are being made. So let's get right to it. I want to first talk about the five, the seven core concepts of the program. But before I get into that, I talked about in my last segment about black fathers having a more important, just as equal as important as financial support. Well, financial support is enforced by the court. The court can't force you to love your child. The court can't force you to visit your child. The court can't force you to render emotional, social, and moral support to your child. The part that they can force you to do is pay child support, and that's what they do. But anything else they cannot force you to do. Um, you would think that some fathers would know how to perform these kinds of support. I mean, let's put financial support aside. There are three other areas that are more important, particularly with Black Americans and Black men, including Black boys, that we definitely need that support. Not that the girls don't, but our Black men are really, really in bad condition, and we need to really stand up and fight for our young Black boys to grow up to be positive Black men, and for our young Black girls to grow up to be positive Black women. So let's just go over this, what I meant by these, why we talk about these things, because what our focus is in the program is not necessarily financial support, because again, the court takes care of that part of it. We encourage it, but if we can establish the other three the other three points of support, then the financial support comes in automatically. No one has to make you do anything, because you have a natural connection, and your love for your child and your bond for your child is going to force you, not even force you, entice you. I don't even have a word for description. Automatically, you're going to take care of your child financially. So let's get to it. So the first thing is the moral support. Now, it is in our opinion that Black children definitely need moral support. We lack a lot of moral support. Our children lack moral support. And that moral support involves us giving, simply as going to their sport events. This is a form of moral support. You know, when my son was young, he played baseball and he played basketball in school. And me, his mother, his aunts, we all went to the games. You know, think about if you ever play sports in school, any organized sport, when someone's in the stand, particularly your family members, your father, your mother, cheering for you. I can remember a time that a friend of mine's son, who took a liking to me, and I took a liking to him because he actually drew a picture of me, and I thought he was going to draw like a stick person, and he really started drawing like features and stuff, and it surprised me. He was probably 9 years old, and so when I was downtown one day, I've seen some drawing supplies, and I bought him this big drawing supply thing because he had talent, and and so anyways, make a long story short, I ended up taking him to his first baseball game and so on and so forth. And he invited me to his karate tournament, and I went. And and the people had their parents there. Just like when I went to my son's games, I mostly seen mothers there. Mothers there supporting it, but black boys want their fathers there. Um, they would look around, they would see me, and they would probably looking around like this, saying, "Well, where's my father?" Or you could see them kind of wondering. And then I didn't even know that when I went to the karate tournament, it was more like nobody loses. It was just basically showing discipline stuff, and they made some moves on each other. They wasn't there to hurt each other, or beat each other up. It wasn't like that. But the parent, father in this example, can coach his son in the corner. So the parent could be in the corner coaching the son before he goes in. And I stepped in a role that people thought it was my son because I was there. And you could see the you could see the expression on the other young black boys' faces that they were wishing their father was there. Mothers were there, but it's not the same thing when you're a boy growing up having your father there. You know what I mean? Like my dad's here, his dad's here, you give him encouragement. This is that kind of moral support we're talking about. So he basically invited me for moral support. And that's what I did. I did it for my son as well. That didn't cost me a dime. Well, I took the bus down there at the time. Maybe that cost me, but it really cost me little or nothing to do that. And it goes a long, long way. Now, how many of our children, you can go to some of these school games and stuff like that, and you don't see a lot of black men there. You see a lot of black women there, not a lot of black men, fathers. And so this is that one form of moral support that we're talking about that's missing for our black children. We need that. If my daughter has a ballet dance or something like that, or dance competition or whatever, soccer or basketball, like my niece plays basketball, and basketball wasn't in for females back in those days. And my son, well, it was kind of because his mother played basketball, and I kind of didn't like that. But this is when basketball wasn't popular for women, and I was like, "What are you doing playing basketball?" But see, we got NWA now. So times have changed. So my point is that this is stuff fathers either they forget about doing, never done it, or maybe no one's never supported them morally, and so they don't have the inclination of trying to do it. So we basically reintroduce these kind of supports to fathers that are so meaningful, particularly to black boys. Um, that kind of support is meaningful. I mean, to see your dad understand why you playing baseball, basketball, you're gonna go that extra mile. You want to dunk now. Before you just want to maybe shoot, get it over with. Now you want to dunk, or now you want to hit a home run, or now you want to swim that lane and win. You just want to be your best because your father's up there. They do it for moms too, but fathers is different with their sons. So that's what we mean by moral support. So we install those kinds of support. We do activities that involve moral support, such as we have fathers working with their children doing homework. We have fathers picking them up, dropping them off for school. Those kind of things. Those little things go a long way with black children. I remember when I was in school, and I can remember the time when parents used to volunteer as hall monitors in the school. We don't have that no more. Maybe we need to get back to that. Um, or volunteers. Our parents would be at the school volunteering, or they'll sit in the class through a class. And I remember those times; those were my best days when my mother showed up or my father showed up, and they showed up. Believe me, and you would know your mother's coming to school that day, and you'd be walking around like a soldier, doing everything you could, get good on everything. You ain't getting disrupting the class or nothing, because as soon as they get up there, they're gonna get a straight report on you in real time. So that's one of them. So that's the moral support. It's about part of it. So we want to encourage moral support for our children. So we need to learn how to get back to that. That's all. So we have some training. We have some training exercises and stuff like that. We have some talks, some lectures and stuff like that. We try to get a feel how people feel about stuff like that, and why or why not they exercise it or didn't exercise that, because it's important to understand why someone didn't do something so we can understand how to correct it. So this is what we do in that part of it. Then we have the social support. The social support has to deal with communications with family members. Um, a lot of black men and boys don't have social support. So, for an example, um, if I was having a rough time in school, maybe having some trouble with the kids, or being bullied, or problem with my homework, I didn't have that uncle to call and say, "Hey, uncle, can you help me out? Hey, dad, can you help me out? Mom, you know." Normally, sometimes mothers was working in a single parent family. Mothers went to work. The ones that didn't go to work didn't spend time with children for whatever reason. Maybe they weren't motivated. Maybe didn't know about it. But the fact remains is that the child did not have the social support. And it also shows the connection in family members. You know, who your family members are, who your friends are, your neighborhood, your community. This is that social support. Um, Mostly what our black men are used to is negative views of community development, things in the community. We hear about shooting, stabbings, gangs, and all this other stuff. There's another side to that that's not being shown. There's a side to that where we have kids getting honor rolls, but they're not highlighted. They're not highlighted newspaper, like someone who just got beat down by 5 people or a gang member. They'll report that first. They won't report Jim's honor roll for the 3rd year in a row. These kind of things. So we want to be able to show them positive stuff as well, so they can see that they can succeed. There's challenges, but we can talk about those challenges. Challenges are there, can only make us stronger. We make us stronger, make our children stronger, make our families stronger. I can remember when I was growing up, all the neighbors had your parents' phone number. Everybody can call, and it was so funny because my best friend lived across. We lived in the same complex. One lived on one side of the street. Excuse me. One lived on one side of the street, across the street in the same complex, and one of my friends lived a few doors down. So you, our mothers would call each other and be like, "Yeah, they just walked by." they would be, they would be clocking us like everywhere we go. If we walk up to the liquor store or something like that, my friend's mother across the street, we have to come past her. So she says, "Here they come back." They must have went to the liquor store because they got bags. Then we'll get to across the street. My other friend's mother will call them and tell them, "Look and see where they're going." They say they passed. They must be on his way to my house because my house is at the other end. But we don't reach there. My mother will call them and say, "Well, they didn't come here, so they're in between your house and my house. So they're probably in one of them hallways over there drinking." That's all it was. They told us. It was so funny. We laughed about it, people. It was so funny. They just knew everything we was doing. These days, a lot of we have children, young children running out 11, 12 on a school night. Um, and that could be that could be there could be a lot of reasons for that. I'm not going to speculate, but 9 times out of ten is it boils back to the household. What's going on in the household? Some kids don't want to go home after school because they're not happy there. They're not going to tell their parents, "Oh, I'm not happy here." But you could tell they're happy. You could tell they're unhappy, or something's going on through their performance from school, or any other outburst that's abnormal for someone to behave a certain kind of way or continue to behave in a certain kind of way. You could best and believe something's going on at home that is not positive. So that social support is important. Um, and that's why I try to we advocate these supports because we know they're important, particularly for our children. And this is part of our legacy. This is what we did with our kids, believe it or not. Historically, this is part of our legacy. This is how we took care of our children. And like I said, a lot of it wasn't focused on financial because there was nobody to say, hey, you do this, because we didn't let nobody tell us what to do with our children, which is another one of our legacies. And then emotional support. So emotional support is very deep for Black men and Black girls in particular, because this is where parents are there to help them through their emotional challenges, through life's struggles and life's challenges. Um, I could think of an example, when, say for instance, if you're going to school and you're getting bullied, or you have people pressuring you to be in a gang, or other peer pressure stuff, they need to be able to trust and speak and talk with their father, their mother, in order to help them solve that problem. You're not going to go outside and get into the kid stuff, but you want to make sure your child is imbued with the information to make the right choices. And that's what it is, a choice. All we can do is teach them how to make the right choice through this emotional support system, that if we don't have it, we need to develop it, because it's very, very important to our child reaching their highest potential. If a child, young man, young woman, young girl, young boy, is not taught emotional support, then there's a psychological effect. I'm not a psychiatrist, but I know for a fact there's a psychological effect overall in their growth, or how they relate to others, or how they sympathize or don't sympathize with others, or understand the feelings of others, or even consider the feelings of others. Um, so those are the three missing pieces in Black family and lifestyle choices. Those are the three: the emotional support, the moral support, and the social support. If we can just build a foundation on that, if we could build a foundation on that, believe me, that is so key to progress. So key to progress, in my opinion. Um, because we do, as Black men, Black boys, Black women, Black girls, we lack a lot of that. Lost somewhere, doesn't make a difference if we lost. We can regain it. It's the good news. We can reteach ourselves. That's the good news. And we can relearn it. That's the good news. Because we definitely need it to be the glue, the foundation of our family, and keeping our family together, and keeping our love for our children strong, making their ability to reach the highest potential that much more possible. Okay, so those are the things that, like I said, we have the tools and the elements, the lectures, the talks, and a lot of it's interactive, to get to bring those skills back on board, and practice them over and over and over till they become our second nature, back to where we were before. Okay, so that's those supports that we talked about in the last video. Now that I want to talk about the 7 core concepts, which is the core, hence the core concept, that's self-actualization. And they call self-actualization because it starts with self. It doesn't make a difference how good a father you are. If you're not a good father, you're no good to anyone else. So you have to help yourself first. Build yourself first is so important. We don't start off the program, you working with the children. We want to fix you up first, give you the information, so when you do perform, you can perform at your highest ability, with new knowledge, with real knowledge, truth knowledge, and using our legacy, our own legacy, that's going to feel very natural to you while you're doing it. But we do it in a way, introduce it in a way that We introduce it through a series of lesson plans. In those lesson plans, the lesson plans they challenge your thoughts, and then we replace those thoughts with new thoughts. If those thoughts are negative, we replace those old bad thoughts with new improved thoughts, which is what we call the change of the mindset. Now, that is not technical. I'll give you an example. If I cussed every day like a sailor, everything that came out of my mouth was a cuss, 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 cuss. We got a lot of brothers like that, the nigger words and stuff like that. And if we talk derogatory every time, there's a way. That's a program. We've said it so much it becomes part of us. But we can undo that. We can unravel that, and then replace it with new language, more positive language. And we do that through a set of progressive change by replacing those negatives with something positive on the spot. For an example, if I have a negative attitude, say about women, and we have a lot of people, we have brothers who say, "Oh, she's a bad bitch," or "she's a hoe," or all these words, and they might not even know the person. The person might not even have those characteristics, but they just assume already that this is a bitch. A bitch is a female dog. We don't need to be calling out. We don't want no one calling our daughters, our mothers, or any of our aunts those kind of names. But sometimes we said it so much, like the word nigga, we say it so much it comes out. Sometimes I might even scream it out, like something like, because I myself am guilty of that as well. So, but I know how to change it, and it can be changed. So we replace it with something new. So instead of saying, "Nigga, what's up, my nigga?" you catch yourself, and if you're in a classroom, we ask you to counter that. And a counter is when you replace that negative with something positive. So if you say, "What's up, my nigga?" I'll say, "Counter that." And we'll teach counters. And then when you counter it, you'll say, a counter would be, is not say, "Oh no, okay, you're not a nigga, you're a guy." That's not a counter. The counter is to, how you counter is you have to dismiss what you said as being negative and then replace it with something positive. But you have to down what you said. So by saying, "Oh, you're not a nigga," that doesn't down what you said. That doesn't take away. If you more say, "Who?" Excuse me. If you say more of, "I shall refrain from using this word because it's inappropriate. I will address you as my brother. I'll address you by your name, Antonio. Or I'll address you by your name, Mr. Celeste. Or I address you by your name, Mary. Or address you by your name." You see what I'm saying? You have to say it the way it's taught. You have to say it in those terms. You can't just say, "Oh, no, you're not a nigga." Okay? That doesn't work. You have to say, you could say, "No, you're not a nigga, and therefore I should refrain from calling you that and call you the correct name. What should I call you?" Something like that. And when you do that throughout the program, throughout the lesson plans, because stuff slip out, because you're so used to it. When we do that throughout the program, through the lesson plans, it tends to stick, and you start changing your language. So you basically reprogram yourself. You're changing the mindset. Here's another one. A lot of people, fathers, black men, get upset when someone mentions child support to them, especially if they're really behind, haven't paid anything like that, And so they would not go to work because they're collecting and they bring home nothing, so they refuse to go to work. This is not good. What we do is that if you're in our program, we'll advocate for you. And what we're actually trying to do, we're going to try to link up with some of the courts, and we're going to try to get the court to recognize the program as participating reduces the amount of arrears, so the person can get back on track. Right now, is let's say you owe 15,000, 20,000, and you go to work and you're trying to turn things around and be positive, and they say, okay, well, you make 400 a week, we're taking 300, and they leave you with 100. You cannot do nothing with $100 a week. You can't live independent. You can't even feed yourself, let alone anybody else, because they take it from that end, and the employer automatically takes it out of your account. So they say, well, I don't want to work now, because now they was taking people's licenses, and like, okay, now you want to find a job. Now you can't get one because you have no car. If it's one of those kind of jobs where you got to need a car. So that leaves you jobs on a T, taking the public transportation. So these are the kind of things that we're trying to do, is trying to show courts, local governments, a bigger plan that helps everyone out and overall reduces the negativity and reduces what governments put into these programs, trying to force people to pay up back arrears. You're basically destroying a person, and there's a way that you can rebuild them, and sometimes that might not be what they want, but this is what we advocate. You can rebuild that person, bring them into responsibility level, bring his family, connect him back to his family and his father responsibilities, and make a man out of him, in a sense that he's a responsible man, that you don't have these back things. It's sort of like the same thing what happened with Corey, when people had these little felonies on their record and they couldn't get jobs, so they did Corey reform. So we're more advocating of more of a child support reform, in a sense that if we can get fathers to go through the program, they can somehow forget the rears and let them start anew. Because there's benefits for the father, there's benefits for the courts, there's benefits for the system. They're all stakeholders. Everyone benefits. It's a win-win situation for everybody. But if we continue to go down that road, the only thing you do is destroy. And I'm saying where appropriate. May not be appropriate in every situation, but where appropriate. Most of the time, the fathers who got behind and suffer all these consequences is fathers who weren't able to work, don't have the skills, that type of thing. Or if they are able to work, they're not making living wages. That's another thing that we need to get fathers to a level where they're making living wages, skilled, and being able to take care of family, including themselves, if they don't live in the household. Because that's usually happen. They don't live in the household. They're making $400 a week, and the court's taking 2, and they can't pay rent, and they can't eat and feed themselves, and so they say, why do I gotta go to work? Why do I go to work? So again, these are some of the challenges that we help fathers with. We help them get through these things, and we also include the courts and stuff like that. We advocate the best outcome for everyone. So this is what we do. This is part of what we do. So I want to talk about, the core concepts of the program. And this will kind of give you an idea how we get fathers to where the basic foundation of the program, called the boot camp or whatever, but it's the basic foundation program. And we particularly require all young fathers to do the basic program. This because a lot of young fathers don't have not much life experience, and especially not experience as children, and a lot of them are children themselves. So we definitely require them to go through the basic course. That is fathers 24 years and younger. Okay? So I'm just reading my notes over here. And so the core concepts of the program, what we call the self-actualization. Let me just tell you what they do. They're designed specifically to address personal issues of African American fathers in particular as individuals, as their individuality, hence the name self-actualization. Self-actualization. Say that 10 times fast. So the self-actualizations are these concepts. I developed the programs myself, and I'm going to give a brief description of them um, to get more detail. I won't get in more detail, but I'll give you a brief description. So the first one we call is recognize self. That's one of the core concepts. What do you mean by recognize yourself, Antonio? So what we do is recognize self is we develop, we help fathers develop a better, a greater understanding of the plight of African American men, and to examine their educational, economic, health, medicine, religious, political, family, and community aspects to himself and to others. Meaning that we basically give you the world order view of where you at as a black, at where we are all as black people and black men, particularly fathers. Because a lot of fathers don't even know what the hell's going on. Like, they probably didn't even know we had a black president. A lot of people don't pay attention to politics. They don't care. You have to pay attention to these things because they affect your life. So this is what we mean by recognize self. Because in order for you to change self, you have to recognize who you are. We've been lost for a long time. So now we want to find ourselves wherever we may be in life, whether we be on the top of the pole or on the bottom of the pole, totem pole. Doesn't make a difference, because when you come in our classes, we're all the same. I don't care how much money you got or how many houses you own. We're all the same. We dress and treated the same. So that's recognized self. Then there's realized self. So what do you mean by realized self, Antonio? To realize self is to identify the problems and potential problems as individuals and as a group. Black men, black fathers. Okay. An example of recognized self. We have an issue that's been going on some time. Black Lives Matter, police shootings, black on black crime, black men killing each other. And in all the realized self, you have to realize who you are in the scheme of things. And we have a way of bringing that out through our lesson plans. We have dialogue. We have dialogue in that class for that. You can see yourself in our lesson plans. You'll be able to see yourself, and you'll be able to see others like you. And that's the important thing, because you have to be able to see yourself in order to make changes. Okay? The next one is evaluate self. Notice they all stop in with self, because it starts with you. It starts with us as black men, individually and collectively. So to evaluate self is to have individuals examine themselves, their own thoughts and their own feelings, because everybody have thoughts and feelings about different things. For instance, if we talk about black men on black crime, everybody in the room has thoughts and feelings about it. And we explore those thoughts and feelings because we want to know how you see these things, and then we can then find out how we change how we see those things. What are the truths? What are the falsehoods? What are the misconceptions? Okay? What are the misconceptions? You know, are all cops shooting at us? Or just some cops? Are they white cops? Why white cops? How come not black cops? And what happens when the black cops? See, these are the things that all come up that sometimes we just follow the train wagon when something happens. As black men, black people, we follow the train wagon. We don't get down to the facts. We don't get down to the realities because that takes work. And if you want the easy way out, you don't want to do no work. So we teach how to do that work, how to solve those issues rapidly so you can make better informed decisions as a father and as a man. You need to be informed to make proper decisions. Okay? If you're misinformed about something, that's going to bring you in a state of mind where you're going to make bad decisions. And all decisions have consequences, whether it be negative or positive. But most likely, if you are misinformed or you have your mind set that something's a certain way when you really haven't found out what way it really is, and you make that decision, you pay the consequences. The consequences could be your life. So evaluating self is to evaluate those thoughts and feelings of you, of of us individually and collectively. Sometimes people send us on the wrong track for a reason because they don't want us to have what we're looking for. Send you on the wrong track. They put it in controversy. They make it political. Okay, they make it religious. They make it, you know, they'll change the whole thing just to keep you distracted, keep it confused. And a good example is when people talk about religion, particularly black folks. You know, you talk, they'll be faithful in Christianity, but then they say, oh well, this religion was given to us when we were slaves. What's the real truth? How we need to solve that because that can make people confused about faith. You don't want to be confused with faith during your lifetime. You want to know where you stand. So that's what evaluate self thoughts and feelings because now you get a chance to share your thoughts and feelings, share your views. You know what I mean? Why you have those views. The most important fact is how do you change those views that are negative? And that's what we do. We're going to take a break and we'll be right back.